Well, in classic human fashion, I started doing the exercises, got a baseline, did it for like 3 days, and then nada. Plus side, I have lost some weight. So we went down from like 276 to 272. Of course, whether that was it was intentional. I didn't really change my exercise, but I did change my eating habits, so not the incessant snacking. Also, clean my room. I don't know how. When I started cleaning, and I took out 3 trash bags worth of trash. I was like, how many months have I been telling myself? Yeah, it's just been 1 month. Just 1 month since I cleaned. I haven't cleaned my room for 1 month. Lies, all lies. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so but here we are. Been sick too. Not good fun. Ugh, not fun at all. But I just think I'm just letting not my natural self, but more just my lazy self be in charge. And my life's cool and great. There's no, aside from like finding stuff online, reading, which I love to do, but I realized that I finished something and I had to immediately find something else. I'm always looking for that stimulation, that dopamine drip. Oh, and that's just not good. Not good at all. Well, playing D&D or preparing for Dungeons and Dragons as me being DM is a good workout for the brain, but and I was just thinking, when I was in my clinical anatomy and physiology class and my exercise physiology class, kinesiology, any of my health, human body, biological studies class dealing with the body systems, I always talked about, usually, mostly always in conjunction with depression, but just how there's always said that food is the most overused drug, and exercise is the least underutilized remedy or cure. Specifically for depression, but also for stabilizing mood. I don't know how many times they're like some articles and stuff are like just use sex, have sex, and that will stabilize your mood. Uh, which is why porn and uh, things to self pleasure yourself, to masturbate, are very popular because you don't even need a partner. You just have to find something that you like. It's erotic, and it stimulates you in that way, and you can stabilize your mood. But the thing is that's empty. Because you're just lying to yourself. And that's shocking, and what's kind of funny is that people in society just don't talk about certain things. Oh, let the schools take care of it. The school will take care of everything. Everything will be taken care of by them. That might be the problem with society. How often do we let someone else teach us? I don't know how many times I'm just like, well, I'm lazy. I don't want to research it. I'll just look up random crap on the internet, and it's obviously the truth. The whole truth and nothing but truth. All of it. All the truth. Right there for me. Not really. But it feels good. Looks good. So why not? Mm. Especially, I come from a very religious background. But aside from mentioning sex in relation to marriage and doing it with only with your partner, no one talks about it. No one talks about it. I came across. Oh, I need to look up the author. Yeah. Okay. So the author. I love westerns. Louis L'Amour, still probably my favorite author. Of course, Tolkien, C.S. Lewis are up there with him, but grew up on Louis L'Amour westerns. Uh, Short read, entertaining, pretty accurate historically. Written by somebody who did those kinds of things. But another more modern author, or more recent, it's C.J. I want to pronounce it Petite or Petit, but Petit. His last name. So C.J. Petite, however you want to pronounce it. But in his books, the male character, in several of his books, the main character of or the male lead mentions how that when he's like 8 or 10, that his mom or his parents together, or just his mom, but basically explained to him about sex, an honest, candid conversation about it, and why, and about pleasure from it, and talks about how to pleasure your partner. And of course, now I have no idea how the conversation was, but it makes it so his male characters have a wholesome view on what sex is, but also how that is together with relationships and the differences between men and women and their views on sex and how it makes them feel and the emotional impact it has on an individual, men versus women. And I read, the first time I read that in the book, I was like, man, I wish I had a parent to explain it to me like that. I wish I had a respectable adult figure that could explain it to me in such a way that's not predatory, not grooming, not sterile or clinical or overblown and fantastical, but just an honest conversation about it. And then it makes me think, like, how often are those kinds of candid, honest conversations put off? Oh, when they're older, people start being predators or sexually harassing kids. And they're in freaking preschool. Heck, now freaking 10, 8-year-olds, 6-year-olds are talking about having a boyfriend, a girlfriend. It's like, when I was that age, I was still probably eating dirt. I know I was still eating dog food, stealing out of the dog's bowl. Death, it was just still playing in the dirt. The Mari men. Yeah. And then, every now and then, there's across the media talks about how, the great sexualization of women. Or how, men aren't, boys will be boys. And that's just horrible as a man. I hear that, I'm like, no, that's just wrong and hurtful and just, despicable. Absolutely despicable. But where do they get this? They get this, schools. It's public schools. It's a 30 to 40 ratio per student to teacher, and you have several hundred kids, or in big schools, in the thousands maybe, but at least in the hundreds. And if you think about it, it's kids teaching kids. Most of the time is spent with other kids, not with a teacher. I mean, you're all together with the teacher, but who are you gonna talk to? Who influences your social life? Who do you actually pick up things from, learn things from at school? It's your peers. It's those kids with you. It's not the teachers. I mean, a little bit in college, you're paying for it. At least for me, it was. Of course, I was homeschooled too, but even then, it's just like, homeschooled from a large family. There's 10 of us kids. Of course, the last one was born when I was living in Spain, but, remember when we were in public school, they pulled us off the bus because they reupholstered the bus, or pulled us out of school because they had reupholstered the buses, and the school board wouldn't let us do our homework in the bus. We had like an hour to get. So we're like the first picked up, last dropped off. So we had an hour that we would usually just work on most of our homework in grade school, 4th grade, and get most of the easy stuff done, but then left the hard stuff to asking for mom, usually dad when he wasn't traveling, because he wasn't traveling that much when I was a kid, but he had to come home from work. And so with having twins, parents went from having maybe an hour each with us. And we're in the same classes, so they can't sit down and we might have some of the same problems, but we could have the same subject. But then it went from having basically just the stuff we just need a little help with, a little guidance, to having all of it. And it's just like, why? So we got pulled out, went back to homeschool. But then it was self-study. Did a correspondence school. We'd mail in our tests. They'd get graded. So yeah, everything was open book because they can't stop us, can't report it. But the thing is that it had stuff on there that if you didn't know the material, you couldn't pass the test. So they would be cover the principles. But if you didn't understand the principle, you couldn't do it. But talking with friends, other people, it's just like we use school as a crutch to teach kids about life. Home ec, that'll take care of everything. How to live, how to use a dishwasher. How many people go to college? If I knew someone who they took out an extra student loan because they didn't know how to cook or clean, and so they paid people They paid for food. They paid for someone to clean, take care of the clothes, just because they, their studies, didn't want to take the time, and it's like, well, I can get this loan, go more into debt. I'm already going to be a lot of debt at school, which is not a really good mindset anyway, but because they didn't know how to live. And then, you have these, and then in a hard topic, so if we're not even teaching our kids how to how to do their laundry, how to clean a room, how to live as an individual without mom and dad taking care of you, of course topics like sex and how to treat, the opposite sex, and how to be in a good relationship, how to develop a relationship, how to be a friend. Well, no wonder. We wonder about society and why it's all whacked up. Well, it's because we leave everything to other people. The internet, the phone, social media. It's got all the bots, all those things that feed you everything that points towards your interest, everything that feeds your viewpoint, nothing that feeds the opposing viewpoint, nothing that has any facts or how to actually check facts or how to know whether it's a good research or article. No, we leave that all to the teachers. We leave that all to schools. We leave that all to the internet. Oh my gosh, how much stuff is left to the internet? The almighty Google to solve. But it's like, we need to all be responsible adults. If we want society to change, to be better, we're going to have to own up to the fact that we're not teaching the next generation. We're letting other people do it. People to cry and defame against, schools, or these people influence their kids negatively or against their own viewpoints. It's like, well, did you ever teach your kids your own viewpoint? Non-biasedly? Or at least you can't, because your viewpoint, so you are always going to have bias to it, but not in such a way, not demonizing other things. Because, heck, half the times we do stuff as kids because our parents say no. Or because we can't, or we're not supposed to. It's forbidden. So of course we're going to do it. Of course. We've got to, because it's forbidden. And what's hilarious is that, the conservatives, the Christians, the religious people are always like, well, rape is absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. But people are like, well, it's how they dress. It's like, but who's teaching boys that women dressing like that is a sign that obviously they're a skank, or a whore, or promiscuous, or showing that they're sexually ready? They obviously want some of that. That they're advertising, flaunting, asking for it. All those other words they use. That basically means it's not the boy's fault. The girl wanted it, obviously. Not. But who's teaching them this is okay? Is it the internet? Is it porn? Is it people? Is it their friends who are bragging? Oh, well, I am lying because I want to be a cool teenager, or I want to be the cool person. So I'm saying I did all these things with my girl, or with lots of girls, because it makes me popular, successful in my peers' eyes, or because I am a jock, or I am a this, or I am a that. Therefore, I must act this way to be popular, to look good, because we all love to look good. Don't ever lie to yourself. We all love it. We all love to look good. We all love it. So how many people when they're talking about, especially when it comes to things about sex, when you're a teenager, how many times are those sexual escapades false, lies, partial truths, just to seem adult, experienced, mature, sexy, desirable? Probably more often than not, and sadly not as untrue as probably should be, but that's my viewpoint from my raising and understanding of it. But also, how do they know that their viewpoint's unhealthy about sex? If there's no resources or anyone to talk about it or tell it or feel comfortable about it. And even if there are those resources, how in the heck are they going to find them? There's so much on the internet, so much online, so much they're hearing. How do I know it's true or not? So I come from a trusted source. And as adults, if we have, I don't have any kids, but I hope that when I get married and have a family, hopefully have some kids. If not, hopefully whatever happens, we can't have it. Hopefully my wife will be up for adoption. Don't know. Don't even have a girlfriend, so that's far in the future. But I personally hope that I can develop the kind of relationship where we have that trust. And that I have developed as an adult in such a way that I can explain these things to my kids in such a way they understand what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what are things that should not happen to them and their bodies. Express to them my viewpoints on sex. And how it makes one feel. It's honest and open, but also not like creepy, weird, and gross. And not awkward. Oh, I hate being awkward. But most of the time I am. Because I am a human being. And it's so much easier to do things that make me feel comfortable, make me feel good about myself, than the things that are awkward. Oh, awkward, uncomfortable. Being awkward is very uncomfortable for me. Movies, jokes. If it makes me feel awkward, I run away. I avoid it, which is not a good thing, per se. But how just because it's awkward or uncomfortable, do we not explain stuff? Do we not talk about this stuff? Do we not open ourselves up to children, to people that need someone to talk to, need an adult, mature opinion? How many times, because it's awkward or we're uncomfortable, do we shut them out? I mean, no wonder no one wants to talk about anything. Everyone likes to just go off what's being regurgitated, what's being shoved down their throats, or what they can find on the internet. Because it feels awkward, you can turn it off. It's video. If what I'm saying makes you feel awkward, you can just turn me right off. Done. Awkwardness is gone. A lot harder in person. A lot harder in person. Especially when, me, I'd never wanted to look bad in front of my parents. Even now, hard talking about stuff as an adult. Because I don't want to ruin that image that in my mind, they have of me, which is probably totally wrong. But, how often do we just not talk about stuff because we don't want to ruin our image? We don't want to ruin how we think people think about us. Way too often. Way too often. Do we let other people's opinions about who we are? Because, I've come to realize that I don't have a very flattering image of myself. I don't have that confidence anymore I used to have. I don't. That's one thing being, dealing with depression and coming out of that, it just took from me is that mindset, that confidence in who I am, that this is me, it's not based on anyone else, and will never be, and to realize that I am my own person, and that I am not dependent upon the opinions and viewpoints of other people, that's just gone. It's coming back, but, or else I'd never be doing these videos. But if you think about it, the hard topics about race, discrimination, poverty, socioeconomical divides, war, famine, sexual orientation, sex, gender, all those politically correct, all these hot button, whatever you want to put up there. Why? Because it's a lot easier to watch these things and rage, be offended, be affronted, than it is to sit down and have an honest, heart-to-heart, not even just heart-to-heart, just an honest conversation with somebody without being getting all mad about their view or anything else, or just, it's just so awkward, and we'll wait till they're older to talk about gender and sex and all these other things. We'll let the school do it. We'll let someone else do it, because then we can't blame ourselves for things go wrong. We want to have, social media's fault. It's porn's fault. It's the school's fault. It's the left's fault. It's the right's fault. It's this some other being, person, entities, socio-economical group, religion, race, etc., etc., etc.'s fault. It's not my fault for not talking about it to my children. For not talking about it to anyone. To not developing my own opinion. Or sharing it. Not sharing it because I don't want to offend anyone. It's impossible to go through life and not offend and defend no one. Why? Because our mere existence can offend some people. Especially when it's road rage. So yeah, hard topics, we don't talk about it. Especially with kids. Especially with our peers. We rather lie, make stuff up, go, or as a man, do the, yeah, yeah, so, monosyllabic grunts that stereotypically men are known for. Wonder why. Well, and also, we don't want to admit when we fail. Because everyone's like, oh, failure is bad. You failed? Oh, shame on you. Oh, what's wrong with you? What did you do wrong? Wrong, wrong, wrong. You can fail and be no fault of your own. You can fail just because life. Or you can be fail and be totally your fault. But it's how we phrase it, how we view it. No one wants to talk about it. Everyone's a winner. No one's wrong. It's always someone else's fault. Government did it. It's insert opposing viewpoint of life, of anything, and it's their fault. But yeah, we just don't want to have hard conversations. We want to have them because, for me, they may feel awkward. Or I don't want to be like, well, there's some truth in what they're saying. They kind of might have some good viewpoints. Some good reasoning. It probably or might not change my view, but it can enrich it because I can be like, well, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of it from that point of view. And on that aspect, from my point of view, it's like this. But no, debate is dead. Conflict is in. Well, may your awkwardness flow as you have difficult conversations, and may you do it anyway, because it's how we grow. And people need it from us. We need it from other people. Oh, we don't want it. We don't want it, but we need it. But we need it. Have a good night. Or good day. Evening. Whatever. Ciao.